Welcome to episode 230 of Fresh Air at 5. In this episode, I listen 3 days this week to a few podcasts and do my reflections. Yes, it's been a full and rich week. Lots going on at school. Thus, I didn't walk as much as I like to. And I walk later in the day. So maybe I'll call this one Fresh Air at 5 later in the day. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call that this episode that. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. And without further ado, episode 230, Fresh Air at 5.
I'm Angela Kelly Robeck, host of the Empowered Principal Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now. Shows on the network are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Find other education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Welcome to Fresh Air at 5, the podcast. I'm your host, Brian Carpenter, coming to you every week from Abbotsford, which is about 45 minutes east of Vancouver, British Columbia, on the west coast of Canada. Fresh Air at 5 is my regular attempt to get some fresh air by walking about my neighborhood, which is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Stolo people, the Simath First Nation and Mathwee First Nation. I consume podcast content while I walk, then reflect on this content in an unedited video, which I post on my X, formerly known as Twitter, channel every day. This podcast is the collection of the audio taken from those daily selfie videos over the course of a week, Monday to Friday. So let's jump into my listening and learning this past week. Hey PLN, it's September 8, 2025, and I'm out for Fresh Air at 5 at 9 p.m. at night because I had lots of paperwork to do for school and marketing to work on, and I did get at it early this morning. Went to school, had a full day of doing data entry and working through problems, my online courses, and figuring out, student email addresses out of a big spreadsheet so that we could get them to them tomorrow when they come for their first day of in-building classes. And it was a really full day. Oh, also my wife and I, we started actually doing workouts with Fitness Blender. And so we do upper body and lower body and then some yoga throughout the week. And it's been good. My body's sore. So yes, that is another thing. All right, tonight as I'm walking, I listened to episode 196 of the EdTech Throwdown with Eric Geis and Nick Johnson. Gents, appreciate you guys. In this episode, you guys talk about creative classroom activities to start the school year. And as I've got students in my classroom space tomorrow, it's nice to have some ideas. And so part of my planning for school tomorrow was actually to listen to this podcast and come up with some ideas that I can do. We can do things like, Simon Says, that wasn't in their list. We can do games where I like the silent lineup, where they have to line up in order without speaking, as far as their ages are maybe, or their birth dates are, and having a mixed class, it'll be kind of fun to see where the older kids are with respect to the younger kids, or don't have the year involved, And so there's that extreme silent lineup. That sounds a little complicated, but maybe we'll get through the silent lineup first. We can do rock, paper, scissors challenges. I've got the thing called Tower of Terror with solo cups, and they have to figure out how to unstack them. There's a piece of paper between. Look it up on YouTube. It's pretty fun. So I'm going to do something like that with them. Get them their student logins so they can log into their accounts, get their school, their computers on the Wi-Fi and stuff like that. There's some great ideas you guys had in here, and I'm pretty excited about starting the school year and some creative ideas over the next few weeks as we build a relationship and community in our classes. Thanks, gents. Have a fabulous day. Take a listen to Ed Text Rundown, episode 196. Hey, PLN, it's September 10, 2025 in the afternoon. This morning I got up early and had lots of paperwork to do and stuff, so I did. And then went to school and worked hard and then came home and I worked out just a moment ago and did lower body. And now I'm out walking to get some learning on and, I don't know, punish my lower body more. But anyhow, I'm walking slower than normal because it was a lot. This afternoon I listened to the 10-Minute Teacher podcast with the Cool Cat teacher, Vicki Davis, as she talks with Dr. Brad Johnson about how teachers need to learn to say no and how to do it, why teachers need to learn to say no and how to do it. On this, Brad talks about the personality traits. And one of those personality traits is being agreeable and being a helper type person. And he talks about nurses and teachers being like that want to be helpers and want to be agreeable and not have conflict. And therefore, we possibly say yes to too many things. He talked about the difference between passive and aggressive being at opposite ends of a spectrum, and both of them are selfish. But assertiveness in the middle between those two things is important, that we develop the skill of assertiveness. That is about taking care of ourselves, about saying no sometimes, and being okay with that. You know, it's not about selfishness. It's about, I can't do all the things. Okay, I'm actually feeling this afternoon kind of like that. We've had a week of school already. Our students have been in the building, and I've been working on student accounts, trying to make sure that our in-building students are settled and things are going well for them. My online students are getting the lesser of me, but I'm going to work on connecting with them tonight more than I have, as I have a large marking block full of stuff. We all do at this point. But yes. So, what's your deal? What do you have to learn to say no to? How to do that? Talks about working with your administrators, about being communicative with your administrators. And administrators, it's about being aware of what your teachers are up to and how much they are working so that you can help take care of them. All right. Thanks, Vicki. Thank you, Dr. Brad Johnson. Have a fabulous day. Bye. All right, the last thing for September 10, 2025. I just listened to an inspiring episode of the Smile Factor podcast with Matthew X. Joseph and Lori Guion as they bring us the beginning of season 3, the kickoff episode of the Smile Factor podcast. And congratulations on arriving at season 3 and sharing your joy and inspiration. You know, it's really cool to hear, Matthew and Lori, about you guys being excited about your work and how, you know, you had summer, you had opportunities, and how you carried on with, learning and doing things through the summer. Yeah, it's important to get some rest. It's important to have some downtime. But I really like how you have shared what's going on, the fun that you're having, and being joyful as an educator, because, you know, it's so easy to get down as we, pour into the people around us, but, bringing that joy. When I'm at school with our face-to-face families, our students, I try to bring joy and bring enthusiasm. By the time I'm done a day of Tuesdays and Thursdays and sometimes Wednesdays when we have our little ones in the building, I'm tired, really tired, but that's okay. It brings me joy. I'm excited about the opportunity of making a difference in others' lives so that they are better after they've spent time with me than they were before. All right, that's all I've got for today. Thanks for being here, and great to connect again, Lori and Matthew. And Matthew, we talked about me being on your podcast at some point, so should we make that happen? All right, thanks, bye. Hey, PLN, it's Friday, September 12, 2025. I'm out for Fresh Air at 5 in the afternoon. It has been a full week. You know, I have had such a full week of school, 2 days of teaching, and then we had, you know, hanging out with kids on Wednesday and marking and up early and working out and all the things that have happened this week. And I'm thankful it's Friday. It's been a very good week. I did get my marking block cleared this today. So that's a big reward that it's empty. And a few of my colleagues also achieved that today, which was so good to celebrate with them that we got our marking caught up. All right, this afternoon, as I'm walking, I listened to episode 336 of the Easy EdTech podcast with Monica Burns. She talks with Emma Chipata about mistake-friendly strategies and how you can use them in your classroom so that you can affect the culture of your classroom. So we make mistakes, and we all do. We don't like to talk about our mistakes. We don't like to talk about them, but we have to get around to normalizing mistakes because that is significant and important for our learning, you know? And how can we recover from making a mistake? How can we process that and have students think about making mistakes? And, you know, it's hard to kind of create and formulate and architect a mistake environment. But, you know, problem-based learning helps us get through those things because we make mistakes and we learn and we go, this doesn't work. We got to try something else. But, you know, that's problem-based learning. What about math class where we're trying to figure out to get the right answer? You know, how do we do that? And why do we do that? So Emma and Monica talk much about, you know, changing the school culture or changing your classroom culture, actually. And you as a teacher modeling, dealing with mistakes that you make and talking about how you recover from those things with your students. Fantastic. So good. And with that, I'm going to wrap up my learning for this week. This was a short week of learning because I did not walk as much as I usually like to, but I had a great week nonetheless. And thanks for listening to episode 230 of Fresh Air at 5.
I appreciate you giving me a listen as I've created this podcast experience for you. It's like a unique Blinkist or Coles Notes version of the content I take in, like a highlight reel, so that you can hopefully find some other interesting podcasts you may not have considered before. I've recorded the specific episode podcast titles and episode numbers in the show notes, which are only a click or swipe away for your learning convenience. I've also started to put together a Spotify playlist of each of the episodes so that you can also take a listen to those specifically, and the link to that playlist is in the show notes. Please subscribe so you don't miss any of my upcoming episodes. And if you enjoyed this podcast and its format, share it with someone else. You can also follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Brian Carr, BRYONCAR, or at FreshAirAtFive. Tweet about your experience or give it a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts. Fresh Air at 5 can be found on the Educational Podcast Network. Podcasts for educators, podcasts by educators. I hope you have a fantastic day. Get some fresh air before the day is out and take care of yourself because you are worth it.